You're listening to the Court of Public Opinion. Well, it's very reassuring that we heard from Paul Ryan, House Speaker, that they are seriously looking at human trafficking. My concern is, and it should be everyone's concern, is that when you're dealing with human trafficking, it's a basic fundamental human right to have safety and a home and food. And anything less, to me, I would object, okay? I would object in every area. If you are denying someone the basic human right, the right to freedom and liberty, the basic human right to be free, caging up a person or child with false pretenses or any kind of false imprisonment, because that's what human trafficking is. It's called false imprisonment. You cannot imprison somebody falsely. And that's what's happened to these people who have been trafficked, okay? The problem still has to be dealt with, okay? I'm very, very happy to hear that somebody's really taken serious. You cannot falsely imprison someone, period. You cannot lie on a police report. It is dangerous. You know why? Not for the mere fact that it's lying. It's dangerous. It's danger. When you sign your name to something, you're liable. You are a liability when you're lying on a police report, okay? It's a liability when you falsely identify yourself. If you identify yourself and you sign your name to a piece of paper, have you ever heard from an attorney where they said, do not sign anything? When you sign your name and it's a matter of public record, you are liable for that. That's a liability. Think about that. So next time some of you are afraid of something, don't sign your name to something, okay? You might be afraid of something. That doesn't mean you go falsely claiming something, okay? Because a lot of people are lying and they don't need to lie. It's one thing to be upset and afraid of something. It's another to sign your name to a document and falsely imprison somebody. And what is happening, and this is the case with child rescue, okay? You cannot, to the degree that when a child goes missing or someone goes missing, okay, and they end up dead, okay, that involves an investigation, okay. We know that's like a basic criminal justice thing here, okay. The problem is there are people that are signing up for things. I don't think they're aware of the consequences. I really don't. I don't know that they want to be on the wrong side of the law. They don't. Because when they start busting these people up, I have to tell you, you're warned right now. There's a warning. If you sign your name to something or you're involved in something, okay, they're going to come and bust your door down. I'm not just saying that nicely, okay? They are going to rescue these kids. They are going to rescue these moms. They are going to rescue these fathers or anyone that is entrapped in the system or somewhere. Wherever they're lurking, they're going to be found, okay? This is that strong warning that everybody needs to hear. When they start abusing children, and I tell you, when you get into abusing somebody and you sign your name to something or you lie to the police, you know what? You're on your own. I don't know what to say to you. You know what I mean? You're a liability. If you're lying and you get found out, you throw away a lot more. I wouldn't sign my name to anything. I wouldn't agree to anything. First off and foremost, if you're in a bad situation and you know it's going to get worse, you need to separate and walk away. Get as far away from each other. But do not be signing your name, because you're going to be held liable for that. And anyone that knows anything about signing documents, okay, if you lie to the police and you go to court because you think you're on the winning side, you better make sure you have the best attorney. Because if you're lying, that attorney is going to have to get you out of that lie. That's the reality. You have to live with yourself. You are going to have to live with your decisions, though. When somebody lies and signs their name to it, you're on your own, guys. Okay? I know that for a fact. I know a lot of people that are lying and talking behind people's back. That's one thing. You're hurting yourself. Okay? You're hurting yourself. I'm laying it out for some of you because if you haven't figured it out by now, I would not want to be caught up I would not want to be caught in that. I would not want to be mixed up with somebody who's lying or doing any of that. I would want to know right off the bat, lay the cards on the table. Let's hear what's about. Because all of us need to go to the negotiating table, okay? But I'm going to say this. I have to say this because this is the deal in America. If you are abusing somebody, you know where you're going to end up? You know where you're going to end up? It's going to be a worse place than jail, too. Yeah, it's gonna be real hell for some of those people. Here's the thing. I would be thanking God if I had a roof over my head and I know that the basic rights are being met here. I would thank God right now that the people that are paying the bills are the ones that you answer to. You don't answer to me. You answer to the people that are paying the bills, right? But if the needs aren't being met at the home, what ends up happening is they're going to bust them down. If somebody is illegally depriving somebody of basic human rights, medicine, basic first aid, I mean, the thing is nobody wants to be caught in that. You do not want to be caught up in the system. I'm telling you guys, because I've been through it, okay? Every person should pay attention to this. You do not want to be liable for somebody or something that happens to somebody. Now, if you're trying to do everything you can, and you're doing everything, you're putting all your effort into it, and it still doesn't work out, that's a different story. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just not meant to be, you know? That's one thing. Okay, it's another thing to lie and get around things, and if you're not bothered by that, then why wouldn't you want to be in good conscience? I would not want to know I screwed up somebody's life by lying to them. I would be apologizing to them. You know, I mean, somebody made a good point. How do you forgive somebody that never even apologized? Most of these people, we've dealt with a lot of people here, okay? Not one time have they took the time out of their schedule to apologize. They still think in their own mind they're right. But see, here's the thing. If they sign their name to something, that's on them, okay? I'm the days of waiting for an apology are long over. They signed their name to something. As far as I'm concerned, I would not want to be on that side of it. I would not want to be signing my name to anything. Because at least you don't have a contractual agreement with somebody. You know, me personally, if I was sitting down with an ex, I would say, listen, just live up to your agreement and there'll be no problems. And that's really easy. Okay, if you agree to something, you casually go over there and you say, I have to agree to something because I cannot live with the circumstances in front of me. I have to have some of my freedoms back. I have to have some leverage in my life where I have a say in what goes on. Okay, I can't be sit here confined at home, stuck without a car, gas, necessities, and not have the same basic rights as you. Especially for somebody that's going through a situation where you're separated and it's visitation. That's why I would be calling my attorney, because I want to make sure that I got all my bases covered. I don't want to be living with the consequences of my decision. And because I want to go out and have a good time, and then somebody's going to hang me because I'm going to go have a good time. How many times have you guys been in a situation where you're dating somebody and your ex comes back? Okay? That's the reality. You got to me, if you make a clean break, you make a clean break. You make a clean break from the people that, you know, not the person that you're dating, but I mean, if you're in a separation agreement and you're not happy, you got to find out why you're not happy. You got to figure out what you want. And what you want, if you want to live in a home where you're, you know, kind of stuck in an agreement you don't want to be in, well then go and figure it out and just resolve it and start over, start somewhere. And realistically, a lot of people end up in a situation where they are unhappy, and you have to find out why you're unhappy. It can't be always about the people in your life either. There's something you need to agree to, and you need to change something in your life. Because I have to tell you, you have to walk away from some people. You have to. You have to. You have no choice. A lot of times, it's the circumstances, or could be situations that are out of your control, okay? But then the only real say you have in something is if you say, listen, I agree that I have not given you the benefit of the doubt, or I haven't helped you, and I told you I would. I'm going to live up to what my word means something. See, when I say something, I mean it. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm not going to overpromise. I'm not going to give too much when I know I don't have much to give back financially right now. I know where I look at my budget and I have to sort out decisions, and I look at what we can afford and what we can't. And right now we can't afford anything. I can't afford we could barely keep our bills paid right now. But when people sit down and agree and they work together and they want to make something work, they're going to do everything they can not to jab somebody or take advantage of them in a worse time of their life. And I can't think of a worse time to take advantage or hurt somebody when they trust you. They give you your trust. And I have to tell you, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. There are a lot of people who cannot be trusted, not because of who they are or what they do. It's because they lie. Lying gets you nowhere, okay? It doesn't. It hurts everyone involved, including you, okay? So when people sit down and make agreements, they cannot go into it thinking that they're going to throw this on somebody. They're going to throw a lot of problems on somebody. And you know, it always ends up like that. They're always pointing fingers. The adults don't have time to point fingers. They want to sit down and resolve it. And to me, that's where we're at as Americans. Okay, that's where some of us are at. You don't want to go home to a home where you're miserable and unhappy. You don't want to go to a job where you're miserable and unhappy. Eventually, what ends up happening is, if I'm in a job or I'm around people that make me unhappy, I'm leaving. It's just a matter when. I've been in those situations several times where somebody is starting a fight. I do not want to go to a job where somebody's grabbing me or hitting me. I do not want to go into someone's home where they're pushing and shoving. They're outside of the law. No matter what laws and rules you have, when you start grabbing and hitting somebody, it's a different story. That's the game changer. You will not find us going back to that person's home ever again either. I promise you that. I've been grabbed, I've been pushed and shoved. You will not see us going around somebody. If you're going to treat somebody that way, the best thing I could do, when somebody starts pushing and shoving, we're leaving. We're never going back there again. I am not putting myself or anyone in a situation. When somebody starts grabbing and pushing, we're leaving. And we're not coming back. We won't go back. I am not living in a threatening environment. I will not live that way. I will spend my life working very hard to make sure I keep a roof over my head and my bed is safe at night. I'm not going to worry about somebody attacking me or making false remarks about me. I lived that way for almost 10 years. I've watched a man pull his fist back. I've watched it. No man should ever, ever, ever think about ever hitting a woman. And any of the men anybody that defends them, hey, you guys are good for each other. Good for you. As far as I'm concerned, I don't want to be around somebody who's going to lie and do that kind of shady stuff. You're better off leaving. You know, when somebody lays down the house rules to me, I look at what's going on. When they start looking at trafficking, that's a basic human right. You have the right to be a human being. And you know how many arguments we heard on Roe versus Wade, trying to figure out if you're a human or not, while they're creating artificial life. We can't even have a real debate about the origins of life. It seems somebody's using the origins of life because they wouldn't be creating artificial humanity, artificial life right now. You know, with the whole thing with CRISPR and transgender and transhumanism, it's all a bunch of things coming together at once. And it all comes down to the basic human right to live. Okay, you can pick apart the Roe versus Wade argument. Well, then we can challenge our leaders, our representatives, to re-challenge Roe versus Wade today. We need to, because they're creating artificial life. Apparently somebody knows the design, the intelligent design, but it's not done in the way that many of us have been born naturally. If you were born human with human parents, you have basic DNA, you know you're a human being. But what did we sign up for? When somebody says that your social security number is really your slave number, then I guess we're slaves to the system then. We don't have to use our social security number. If we're a slave, we're a slave. But listen, somebody decided one day long ago that the social security system, that number they talk about, that they identify you with, you know what? We will not ever really know what the reasons were for our social security system is right now, but I have to tell you, it's completely been eviscerated. It has been cleaned out, as most of you know. So whatever, our country is in such debt right now. If we go into any more debt, well, first of all, we're already way too far in debt. That debt's going to be passed over to your kids, okay? You don't want to do that. You don't want to make your kids angry. You don't want to take from your kids' mouths and your grandchildren's mouths. Any one person wants the right system in place where you can work and you can invest wisely or save your money so your kids and grandchildren will be able to live better lives. You do not want to set your family up for failure. You know what I mean? You want to invest with your family, do the best you can, make sure that you have everything ready that your kids can go on to live better lives. And anyone that adopts children, you have my respect. You do. You have my absolute respect. Especially kids that need a home. The day's coming though. When you turn your investment, you know your days are numbered. You're thinking, I don't have much time left here. Whatever I have owned, I'm going to give it over to. I was sitting there thinking about it as I just recently found out some news about my medical situation. Where would I want to give my property over? And I have to do I have to do what they call the last will and testament. When you're doing your will, when you're thinking about the contractual agreement you have with the attorney, when you think about keeping a home over somebody's head, and you're thinking about what you want for them when you leave, you would want to sit down and say, hey, listen, I want to make sure you know, I want my family to be well off. And I'm sitting here thinking about the last things I want to do before my last day, you know? Today were my last day, and I would sit down and make sure all my assets, all the things I have financially, I would want everything ready and ready to be handed over to my family or those people that are in my will. The last thing I want to do is leave my family worse off before I leave this earth. You know, our days, you know, we life is too short, you know. And one thing I know is the hardest thing, especially when a family in the last moments of, you know, somebody's passed, right before somebody's passing, you want to make sure you have a chance to say your goodbyes, and you don't want to end it that way. You want to make sure that you always are on good terms. I always tell those, because you don't know what it'll be like when you have to say goodbye. I'm so grateful I had the opportunity to say goodbye to my dad. And I know what that was like the days after he passed away. So that's why I say this. It is really important to keep a roof over your head. And that's why I really want to speak to those issues, because I know that some of you are concerned. And it's very good to see that Paul Ryan's standing in front of this issue. It is a basic right to be free, not a slave.